Hey guys, so here I am in central Hanoi. See some beautiful old relic behind me, and a not so beautiful old relic in the picture, suffering from a bit of sunburn and general sweatiness. Apologies for that. But anyway, yeah, I thought that this was an appropriate place to tell you more about toy manufacturing in Vietnam. So as I've been looking at alternative manufacturing hubs over the last 10 or 15 years, Vietnam's really come to the fore. In fact, it's probably arguably really the main alternative hub to China for toy production, at least as far as Asia is concerned. You could argue Mexico's also equally significant nowadays, but yeah, as far as Asia gets, Vietnam is basically number two. And you know, there are some really good, very big factories in Vietnam, and you know, there's a lot of production capacity here. Having said that, it's still a minority. Sorry, China still has by far the biggest amount, and although Vietnam has grown a lot, we're talking about several $1 billion worth of manufacturing. You know, China's still doing 30, 35, 40 billion in that kind of ballpark. So, you know, at best we're looking at like 10% of what China is doing, even now, you know, a few years after some production started to slip away from China for toys. And see some traffic behind me at this stage. So yeah, the other thing to say here is like the reason for that market share is that Vietnam is like a country of 100 million people, right? And China is a country of 1.4 billion. So the big difference is really how many people you have available to actually get the work done. Yeah, just quickly checking my notes. I think the challenge therefore becomes that despite however good Vietnam is, however close it can get to China's knowledge and expertise, it will never be the replacement if you ever need that for China. It's never going to be the hub just sheerly based on you know, far less people and therefore far less industrial capacity, but it can nevertheless be, you know, a big part of the supply chain. I think the other thing that's really important to think about is, like, a lot of people are just trying to diversify for political reasons because they've been told to by retailers in North America especially, or just because they fear some geopolitical risk. So I think one of the things, I'll just give you a bit more of a view as I do this, as it's quite a nice place. Yeah, stunning place to come and visit. But anyway, as far as the factories are concerned, the thing is that the local supply chain is not as robust as China, and it can't be because of the scale. So talking back to the limited you know, population and industrial base, really like only India would ever have the potential to rival China for the kind of supply chain. And one of the things we saw in the COVID lockdowns in China was that Vietnam production was affected as well, basically because a lot of the components are coming from China. So, you know, producing in, or at least assembling in Vietnam, you know, it might well allow you to say made in Vietnam, and that might be enough for you. But you also have to think that in terms of true kind of like strategic diversification, it's still very reliant on China. But I guess I'm going to end on a slightly more positive note than that, which is, yeah, I think that the good thing is that most of the factories in Vietnam are Chinese owned. It's the logical place for people, factory owners in China, to go because it's a similar culture, it's a similar kind of, you know, however you put this, political ethos or ideology in terms of both China and Vietnam being officially communist, albeit with local characteristics. Yeah, so the reality is, like, the good thing about the growth in production in Vietnam is we're retaining a lot of that expertise from the Chinese supply chain. So, you know, as some factories in China convert to higher end products than toys, or you kind of go out of business as the entire economy there changes, you know, one of the things you're going to find is like, we're going to lose some knowledge, and that's going to be a big loss because there's so many things that the factory does for us in the toy industry that we take for granted. But if you go to other production hubs, and believe me, I go to other production hubs a lot, you know, you don't necessarily get that guarantee. So I think that's one really good, you know, thing to kind of end on as far as the growth is concerned. Yeah, and that's kind of pretty much all I have here. Like I say, there are you know, there's like 100 plus really good factories in Vietnam. So if you are looking for alternative toy production outside of China, it's a fairly safe bet. It's kind of like the smoothest, it's the most friction-free alternative I think you'll find outside of China. But like I say, it does come with some, you know, question marks about like how truly you know, diversified sourcing strategy relying on like solely Vietnam would be. So yeah, that's all for now. Thank you for listening in. This has been one of my favourite ones to record because I'm in such a cool place, and now I'm going to go and find some air conditioning. Cheers, thanks for watching, and see you next time.